Hello, Maeve. It's not right for one person to have all that power. Says the woman who can control us with her mind. I've had to make some difficult choices. We're survivors.
Deanna Davis, Westworld flip. What was this, episode 7? Six. Episode 6.
Yes.
Decoherence. Decoherence can be viewed as a loss of information from a system into an environment, often modeled off of a heat bath, since every system is loosely coupled with the energetic state of its surroundings. So that's what the definition of decoherence. I saw a lot of mention of quantum decoherence, but that's just decoherence by itself. So, all right. The episode opens up. Maeve is in a grassy valley. Then all of a sudden, Sirach shows up and she realizes, like, damn, I'm back in the construct or whatever. I got the long shank, from Mushashi. And Sirach basically tells Maeve, I'm going to give your ass another chance. You mess up again, and it's not going to be as nice when you end up back in this construct or whatever. So I don't know what type of slave pit construct he's going to throw her in, whatever Star Wars, Jabba the Hutt type. Like the threat alone, even though we've seen the stuff that Sirach does, he's not joking. Maeve ends up going back into the wartime construct, and she goes all Steven Seagal on the troops.
Steven Seagal.
She's training. She was like, I'm not taking the L the next time I lead this bad boy. All right. And then the episode switched, and it's to William. And he's back in that place where you can say Charlotte, but we know Dolores, whatever that therapy place that he's in. And he's going through a therapy session with a group of people. And it's a brother there talking about God. And when he talks about God, William breaks in and was like, you believe in Santa Claus? It was so funny. And then he goes on, though, to break down how human beings are nothing but parasites. And that God would have already turned his back on the world, and that we're just maggots eating on the corpse, talking about how we just deplete all the resources here on Earth and things like that.
Yeah.
William then moves into a personal session with a lady doctor, and she's telling him to kind of confront what's in his head. And he keeps telling her, I don't need to be here. Because basically saying, I know what went wrong, and his focus is on killing his daughter. And he tells her basically like, look, I was confused and I couldn't see outside of the game, but he says he sees it now. We go on to find out later that really wasn't the issue. Meanwhile, and we're still getting the ramifications of what Dolores did when she threw everyone out of their loops, basically. And the doctor, in the background of when in the session, you keep hearing a phone ringing. And I'm like, I know that's why William's phone. I know it's the doctor's phone, but it was ringing for a minute. She could have clicked that bad boy a second ago. Mm-hmm. She looks at her phone, and it's her husband. And, it's first she sees one, before she opens the phone, she sees her file now, since everyone that's in Rehoboam, everyone's seeing what Rehoboam says about them.
Yeah, inside report.
Yeah, she has addiction to opioids. She sleeps with her patients. They were going to be divorced in 2.5 years, and she was going to lose her license in a year. And basically, it all happened today. So Rehoboam wins again. So they
lost the kids and everything.
Yeah, lost everything. So Williams is getting a physical or whatever, and they draw blood. While they're drawing blood, we see when they take the blood up to whatever machine it is, and I love the high-tech stuff they have in there because it just makes you want to think, how does it work? We see that there's a protein in Williams' blood, all right? And the protein, it's sent the signal because they were trying to trace it, and it seemed like the protein may have infected their system. So at that point, we kind of really don't know what's going on, and they implant a drip into the top roof of Williams' mouth. All right.
Yeah, that's called Desert Oasis.
The drip?
Yeah, that's cheating.
No,
No. They put the machine in there, but the doctor said give him a Desert Oasis, like give him that version of the drip.
No, I get, but that's not what the drip is called.
No. That's not what the drip is called.
Yeah, you meant that they programmed Desert Oasis. That's not what the drip is called. Mm-hmm. All right. So meanwhile, on the outside, we switch, and the world is still going crazy. Charlotte, the crazy part is, why is Charlotte walking her child to any place in this crazy world when she's a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, basically?
They're duties.
They're walking into the streets like, come on now. Like, the world is going crazy. It's the lady jogging, right, But then a quick flip, we see a guy tag in on a wall, and he tags the maze that William was looking for that was under the Indian guy's scalp. So of course, that's going to kind of come back, perhaps in the future, perhaps not even this season, but still shows the intersectionality of Westworld and the real world of what's really going on. So Charlotte gets home and tells, I forget Michael Easley's name in this, I'm just going to call him Easley. She tells him she's scared, and he's like, listen, B.I., you are fearless. I've never seen you talk this reckless about you being scared of anything like that. And then she notices that he has his file pulled up, but he tells her, the reason I have it is because I want to find out if me and you are going to be together. And she basically asks him, so? And he's like, I didn't look at it because no computer is going to decide what's going to happen between us. Charlotte breaks out. She leaves. They hug. She leaves. Their son sees them. And Sirach ends up where Charlotte's walking up to the building, and she meets her partner in crime, a gentleman who has all the shares she needs to take over the company before Sirach's dramatic takeover. Yeah, so they're out here walking, and dude tells her, like, I'm walking on water, and you asking me how many steps, which was a nice line. And all of a sudden, the crazy part is when you saw these park cleaners, whatever, I would have known the jig was up then. They grab dude, and it's within a second just blow his brains out. All right, or as they used to say in the hundreds, in the in the aughts, you know how many noodles I done pushed back? Whenever they said that, I never liked that. I was like, no, I don't want to know, sir, because I don't want to have any part in whatever foolishness you did out here in the streets. So anyway, she gets in the building. Sirach tells her, like, look, meet me there. I'm look forward to meeting you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to see you when I see you, whatever. We're kind of in the assumption that we think he knows what she was doing, but still he's kind of acting like everything is on the up and up quasi or whatever. All right. She breaks out to the car, right? She's shook. She runs to the car and calls Dolores to tell her what happened. And Dolores tells her to get her ass back in the building. Charlotte's like, no, what you say now? Charlotte goes in on...
You ain't the one risking your ass out here.
He just said. Charlotte goes in on Dolores risking her and Martin. They're both Dolores clones, Charlotte and Martin. And it's like what Dee said, you're not risking your ass out here. Then she asked Dolores, what about my family? And dramatic pause. And Dolores reminds her, they're not your family. Charlotte goes on about slipping away, the thing that we've been talking about a lot, and saying that I'm no longer you, and I don't really feel connected to you. And Dolores reaffirms that they are Dolores and that she belongs to her still. It goes back to William and his AR treatment, and he walks in on his younger self. And after his younger self walks in on him and frees him. And after that, they're transported to his childhood bedroom. And at this point, we don't necessarily know his relationship with his father, but it sounds like they have an abusive relationship, because when William hears his father, he wants to get up out of there. He starts screaming, get me out, get me out. The handlers come in there, therapists come in there. He bites someone's finger or whatever. They give him some more drugs to knock him out. We return to Maeve. She's still going old man Maeve, old Logan style, in Italy. And she meets up with Lee. And she sees, but this is the thing too, she sees in the real world that they've been moved. And she mentions that Sirach kept his promise with an extra gift. Sirach continues to go on burning everything that he owns within the company. So Sirach's major thing is to make sure that no one in the future has access to what Delos has, so that as far as any type of disruptions, it won't take place and everything stays calm, basically. Charlotte goes back in to get the information that Dolores requested. William has a group session with all his former selves, his kid self, the self we met when him and Dolores, when he first got to the park, when he was engaged, the black hat self of him, the good gentleman quasi out in the real world self. And also, I believe his ex-wife's father is like the therapist in that session. Yeah, the therapist, and he's just hilarious throughout that whole segment. Also, Ed Harris was in his bag on this episode. Like, this was good. It was a really good episode. Ed Harris was in his bag in this episode. So Maeve, we go back to Maeve, and she's back in Italy, and she sees Hector comes in there. But remember, now she has control. She can see outside. She's like, look, I think I can restore your memories. She restores his memories. To switch back to Charlotte, and Charlotte is sending all the information she stole about how to create hosts to William. Now we know that protein has something to do. They have a tracker in William, but Dolores has to go get William, basically, even though we'll talk about that in a minute. All right. So Charlotte sees Maeve in the making. Like, so Maeve's in the room where they're going to create you, and she mentions to Dolores that they've recovered. She sees a beat up Pearl, or the exterior cover of the Pearl, and she mentions that they've recovered Connell's Dolores Pearl. So during the whole shows earlier, we remember that Ford's partner, Connell, it was always talking to Dolores and trying to make Dolores bigger and better and more realistic. So that Dolores Pearl, they had that Pearl.
Like the original Pearl, basically.
Yeah, like the OG. Yeah, or maybe it's the second one, because maybe they had one in the park. But you're right. This could be the like B saying, this probably is the original Dolores Pearl. William finds out that he was a monster. So William is kind of under the assumption for the majority of his life that really he didn't start flipping out till he was in a park and basically had access to kill people with no ramifications. And it seduced him. That's what he's kind of under the assumption of. But what we come to find out was he was breaking kids' arms and knocking their teeth out. And even his drunk father, for a second, I thought his father was going to be like, good job. And his drunk father was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I try to take it as like, why you keep doing this, boy? You know,
exactly,
like something like this.
Exactly. Yeah, so exactly. So William, the question he's asked, did William life happen or did he choose it? All right. Like that was the big question. Like, did he choose his life or did these things unfold and it's just life or circumstances that did it? Maeve and Connell's Dolores shoot the shit inside inside of the construct about who's writing this war. And Dolores points out to Maeve that Maeve is no saint or villain, and neither is she, that they're both survivors. And that's something we talked about a lot during this, as far as I've said a lot. I feel like everything was going to switch where one stance where someone was going to be and another stance where someone else was going to be. So Charlotte calls home. She warns Michael easily, like, listen, don't open that door for nobody. I'm going to be there in a minute. And but then after that, Sirach has her to come to a board meeting. And one of the people in the board meeting like, man, who is you? You got this preposterous idea. You coming in here, you're taking away our civil rights, bump you and everything about you. And Sirach's like, you know what, dude? You ain't got to worry about this no more. We know who the Dolores clone is up in here, and it's Charlotte Hale over there, right? And then proceeds to tell Charlotte, you know, I wouldn't even find out if you didn't care about your kid, because the real Charlotte didn't care about nobody. But I'll say this point, and we'll get into it later, it also shows another pocket of agency, because he's wrong. Because Charlotte did call her son, and that's another thing. Nobody else knows that Charlotte called her son when Westworld was going to hell, because that Charlotte was the only person that saw that in the higher up chain, that when that man came in and said, we found this last message or whatever, and so no one else saw it. So actually he's wrong. And I had mentioned that I thought that Charlotte was going to get this Dolores Charlotte twisted into her family was going to be the most essential thing. So after that, Tessa, she gets her ass up out of there. She poisons everybody in the room. She goes, finishes everything she has to do, and then goes. She wanted to kill Maeve, but she killed Hector. And Maeve keeps getting Hector killed. But this time, and I know Ryan can appreciate this, it was the real death. Ain't no coming back from that one.
Yeah, he's done now. He's done now.
And why are those things so dusty? It was like, you think it'd be hard. It was like dust. So she crushes Hector's pearl, and she's probably going to crush all their pearls, but then the security comes, she has to leave. On the way out, if you can go back to earlier episodes when she's arriving to Delos and she sees those big bots that are there, and she's like, yeah, we're going to need these. When she gets caught in the hallway, she activates one. And it
Transformers, the Delos Transformers.
As he just said, they transformed on that ass. And even though she was wounded, she was allowed to get out there and escape to try to get back home. And also, she got busy in the elevator. If you like that Captain America scene that y'all hype up too much, Tessa Thompson, yeah, it was hype. Tessa Thompson got busy. Like, that was a nice action scene when she took on that guard in the elevator. So Maeve and Dolores are still in the construct, and they discuss how they can't trust one another. Dolores reveals she's probably had a contingency plan to stop Maeve from having an ally. And this, again, goes back to what I was saying before, when Charlotte goes ahead and crushes that. Which, one thing I think we've already said, that most of the stuff in this show has been already planned out, at least contingency planned, for what Dolores thinks is going to happen and what her reaction should be. So, like, even though when we talk about Bernard, whatever Bernard's doing, Dolores definitely knew that he was probably going to be doing this. And you can go back to Martin saying, your friends have gotten here, your guests have gotten here a little too early, when it was coming for getting Liam, that even then she knew that Ashley and Bernard, well, not Ashley because she knew he had Ashley, but she knew Bernard was going to probably show up to try to get Liam because he was going to know what her plan was moving forward. So anyway, William kills all of his cells. All right. And it's funny because his daddy-in-law says, "Get him one time for me, William." when he's stumbling on Young in the Park, William.
Yeah.
He just
hit him with the chair shots. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. And then William says, "You know what? It doesn't matter what I've been, good or bad. Everything that we've ever done led to this. And I finally understand my purpose. I'm the good guy." And after that, you hear something talking. He comes out of the machine, and Bernard or Ashley are there. And there's some symbolism. Bernard puts his hand down to help William up, meaning like, all right, we're going to come to an agreement on what we're going to do. And also we know now that William, and also one thing that we haven't mentioned, William is looking at anarchy in a way as a solution, not in a bad sense, but that there should be turbulence and everything shouldn't go smooth and coordinated to someone's plan, that anarchy in a way is a part of life. And even if you go back to him talking about how bad human beings are with that, he's looking at the natural order of things compared to Sirach's vision of basically being some super dictator that uses a supercomputer to continue to control everyone's life and dictate who they're going to be and the limits to where they can be in society. All right. So during that, Maeve is back. We find out. So we see Maeve. She's fully back. She has a new body. But then there's a tub over there. Also, only Hector got crushed. So Sirach promised Maeve help. I didn't mention this in the beginning. Maeve said, "I need what Dolores has, and that's assistance." All right. Like, I need a click. All right. So she had Hector. We don't know if she brought back Lee Sizemore or not. If she brought him, especially if she's gonna bring him back with the cane too, be like, "Why are you out here fighting? He got the cane." But still, there's a pool and someone's coming up and Maeve smiles. And my first thought was, "Is that Teddy?" Because I'm like, if you're trying to mess with Dolores, and her and Dolores basically have concluded, they can't trust one another, and it seems like they should be able to trust one another, but they can't trust one another. Charlotte gets home, gets the family. They hop in that SUV from Turner and Cash. If anybody y'all can remember Turner and Cash back in the days in the 90s, they hop in that Turner.
Cash.
Thank you, D. Tango and Cash. I appreciate it. They hop in the Tango and Cash 4Runner, and they take about 3 little blocks, not a block, houses, and that bad boy blows up like,
man.
Right? And you knew it was coming. I thought it was going to be with a rocket launcher, though, because I was like, who did it? And you see like some little hitman come out of the gate, right? Like, yeah. And he calls like it's done, basically. And the crazy part is he doesn't see from someone beating on the car and the door flying off and a crispy Charlotte jumping out. And I mean, she jumping out and it's still burning through her skin when she's jumping out, right?
Yeah.
So last part, she's mad. And next episode seems like it's centered around Caleb. At the end of the preview, Dolores mentions to Caleb, you've always thought of yourself as a follower. It's time for you to lead. They show a lot of interaction between Caleb and Kid Cudi. And also he's popping a lot of wafer. I'm sure it's some type of drug or whatever, but he's popping. They showed us at least 3 times he's popping these wafers in his mouth. Yeah. And that is, of course, the overview of the last episode.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
Could Maeve even bring back Lee? Because does he even have a pearl?
I think he has a pearl.
He does.
He's just in the simulation.
I think he's just in the simulation. I think he's just cold.
Okay.
But I like your
You could be.
That would be cool.
Both of you could definitely be right. The only reason that I say that he has a pearl is because of Hector. And what's the point of of course you're gonna have Hector and Maeve together. Go ahead.
It was 4 people, right, that were coming back.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Dolores. One was Hector, the blank, and Maeve. And the blank, we don't know who exactly that is. And it's somebody with the pearl, right? Because we saw 4 pearls.
Yes.
Somebody with a pearl.
Yeah. And so that's what I thought too. I thought it was probably going to be Teddy, but go ahead. Ryan.
I think also in your vein, Ken, maybe not Teddy, maybe her dad, maybe one or the other.
Ooh, that's a better one right there.
That's a good one.
That's a nice one right there, Ryan.
Because remember when they went to go down, because all these hosts and all of this is taking place at Delos, right? All this is all at the basement level of Delos. So when they went to go in and go get Hector's body, the person was like, "We got one of them." So yeah, so they basically willed out the ones that they wanted, and then they killed the rest of them. They burned them. So theoretically, there's only about maybe like eight or 10 hosts left, basically. Overall, because of course Delos has the mechanism to make more of them, but we don't know.
And Dolores stole the information.
And Dolores stole information. We don't know in the future seasons are they going to go back there and make some other ones. But as of right now, there might be about 10 of them that's out there, really. And that's you got Maeve, you got the special person, and one other person that's coming along with the ride. And then you have Dolores. Hale is still alive, right? Martin is gone. We remember
he's kind of maybe alive though, because his pearl was stolen, right, by Charlotte.
Whose?
Martin, the one that's why Dolores was gone when Maeve was talking to her.
No, I thought he just blew up in. I thought he blew up in the office buildings. That's why I counted him as being.
Yeah, I thought Martin blew up.
No, the pearl that was Dolores that Maeve was talking about. I thought that was Martin's pearl. But
no.
Whatever pearl that is.
No. That's
Charlotte stole that, right?
That's Connell's pearl.
That's Connell's pearl. That's the OG.
Remember
Dolores
when Bernard?
Pearl.
Remember when the partner was always talking to Dolores? He would have those sessions where he would sit in front of her, and we didn't know at times that was Bernard. Or remember, Bernard he looks like Ford's partner. So that was Ford's partner talking to the Dolores that he was always raising. That's his pearl.
Yeah, and remember, Ryan, as soon as Hale grabbed it, Dolores went down. So that's how we know that was her.
That's
what I'm saying. Yeah. That pearl still exists.
That pearl still exists.
Yes.
That pearl still exists.
Could be
so yeah, that
host.
That could be a host.
Oh, it's going to be a host. It's going to be a host. It's not even a question. Right. And we know Dolores likes a lot of Doloreses because she's the only person she can count on. Exactly. But the thing is this though. Even though, and old girl mentioned it, she seemed simpatico with the Doloreses in the real world, but she did mention, you know what? Basically, at one point there was a divergence. So as far as like, I've been here, she's been doing that. So I'm not up to snuff on everything. And I wonder, because we've seen that these Doloreses, they kind of agree with her, but they've taken on whoever that host is supposed to be. They've taken that on. It'll be interesting if that's going to be the undoing of Dolores, her own Doloreses. And it's the thing that I've always said in this show since we started this one, that Charlotte, Dolores was going to choose her family over Dolores. And she was about to skip town. Like she was like, you know what? I'm good with that. I did what you need. We about to ride out, right? And it goes to what we were saying about there's a connection between, someone's pearl is in there, but whoever the construct is that you're supposed to be emulating, that person, whoever it was, is coming over the pearl. And that's one thing that we keep seeing. And one thing I did notice, if you guys looked at the pre-show part of the last episode, well, not the last episodes, the last episodes, they showed a different angle to me of Maeve dying after Mushu stabbed her. Because before it seemed like they showed us from the back, and then they showed us from this side with her kind of laying down when he was about to come, when that Mushu Dolores was about to come and finish off Maeve before they came and said, Sirach's people are outside. They showed it from like her right here, and it showed the blood. It showed the host juice that we talked about, but it also showed Maeve's blood. And to me, because it's a lot of symbolization in this movie, it showed the blood and the host juice mixing. There was a reason they backed out of that scene and showed a robot bleeding into host juice. They didn't just do that to do that. It's still supposed to tell us about what the real thing is about the mixture of the host and human beings, to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, a few things have popped out to me. I got them marked down. Number one is, did William actually see, his name was Dr. Lang, the doctor that killed herself? Only reason why I bring this up is based on the name of the name of the drug they gave him was called Desert Oasis. And maybe this takes me back to being a kid and watching cartoons and people being in deserts and they start to see mirages. And I was thinking, like, when they was walking past, because the guards didn't see it, only he saw it. Now, this obviously just could be for the effect of the show. This is like, okay, yeah, he's seeing this. But that was one thing. I'm like, I wonder if he's really seeing it because the person that was in the room was like, yeah, give him a high doses of Desert Oasis. And then as soon as he's walking out, he's just kind of wobbling around. It doesn't seem like he knows where he's at. And then he sees the doctor hang herself. So that was one thing that hopped into my mind. Another thing too, I don't think William. Remember the part where it showed that he bit the guy's
fingers? Yeah.
I don't think he ever did that. Because you look at the end of the episode when Bernard and Stubbs came in, he was still in that room. Halfway through this episode, they showed him waking up and talking to a guy in a bed. Because they say, like, get him out of here, he's going crazy, get him out of here. And then he wakes up in his room and talking to the guy, and the guy leaves.
That could definitely be it.
Yeah, the guy leaves him.
Well, I mean, they could have done different sessions, but possibly. I think your point is still valid. I do think he saw old girl kill himself, though.
Okay,
I think because he was high, he was the only person paying attention
to it,
and they was like, whatever. But again, to your point, if he still was asleep, well, you know what, you made a good point, because I found it really weird that there was no time for her to put the noose around her neck. She stepped up on it. Now, also, it's how with this show, it's time gaps. But you saw her walk on her desk, and by the time she walked to the end, she just basically walked off. I mean, it wasn't like she took time to put it on, then walked off. So again, to your point, it could have been a hallucination from what took place.
Possibly. Another thing that hopped out to me was the simple fact of we know where he's at. He's in Mexico. That was one thing that popped up when the doctor. But before that.
Okay.
When the doctor, when they took his blood, when he was strapped in, they took his blood and they sent it down to the other lab. It popped up, and that's how we saw that. I wrote it down. It said unknown protein detected. Yeah, tracing data transmission recipient server detected, and it was Sonora, Mexico. And then you go to the scene where he pops up on Dolores' computer, and it says it's basically the same thing. Like, okay, yeah, he's in Sonora, Mexico, and that's when Dolores picks up the phone and says, like, "Hey, we got a problem. They got Connell's pearl." It was like real slick how they slid it in there. It was like, "Oh yeah, we found him." So, for at least what it gets for me, because it seems at the end of the last episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago, I can't remember, when Martin was telling Bernard what was going on when it was going down. So I guess it was last episode when he was going down, and then all of a sudden Bernard and Stubbs pops up and knows exactly where William is at. So it seems as if Dolores is telling them, "Hey, this is where he's at," because nowhere else in the show it shows where anybody else knows where William is at. So it seems as if that information was pretty key as to he was in Sonora, Mexico, and how about how did he get around? And the last thing I will say is probably like, this is maybe not controversial, but just want to throw it out there. Do we know for sure Sirach blew up Hale's truck? And the only reason why I asked that is because the conversation that Hale had with Dolores in the car. She knows that she's shook. She's like talking about her family, talking about, "No, you mind, don't worry about that." It kind of reminds me of when she was kind of getting on Teddy and was ready to off Teddy, but Teddy eventually just killed himself. But I wonder if Dolores is kind of like, "Man, she a weak link. I need to get rid of her."
I don't think so, but that's a good one. I don't think
because I don't remember seeing that dude. I don't remember seeing that dude there.
But we don't know who is. I mean, usually the guys dressed in black are his henchmen. Yeah, but we don't know who the henchmen are. So I just think, because it could have been a hit. It could have been a hit like Caleb was getting. "Hey, I need somebody to go take care of this. I pay you some money. Boom, go take care of it." Because she got the money. But look, Sirach was not going to let her walk away after one. He wanted to take her alive in the first place, right?
He wanted alive, yes.
She killed everybody because think about it, he's trying to find out. He wants that pearl to find out what Dolores is up to, right? Mm-hmm. So he sits there. She escapes. Basically, it may get to the point where it's like, I can't get her. But the last thing he can afford is to let another Dolores be out here free. Like,
no.
I don't think your point. I don't think listen. I think you have a great point, and it'd be interesting if, moving forward, we find out that Dolores is that ruthless that I
think we all know she is.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible. Saying that she's offing her. But even if, in all fairness, that Dolores clone didn't do anything bad because she still took care of all her responsibilities. So it wasn't like
she seemed like a weak.
Yeah, she did sound squirrely to Dolores.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying she didn't sound squirrely, but just like when Martin was like, "You know what? At this point, my role is over." Right. Mm-hmm. He didn't try to escape. He was like, we knew when we got to this point, I was probably going to die, right? Now,
but that's all Dolores, and Dolores is unique. They don't think alike.
Yeah, but still, I'm just saying, still, you know that you're probably not going to get out of this. That's why he had the bomb already there for when they came up here to sit there and blow them up, because that was the next move. When he got to that node in Liam's office, he was never supposed to going to be able to leave that office. So when you look at Charlotte now, we could say, well, Dolores could have just done that too. But Charlotte completed all the tasks that Dolores had asked for her. It wasn't like she left and didn't give Dolores the information she asked. She destroyed her. No, I'm not saying your point is invalid. I'm just still trying to play devil's advocate so that everybody knows what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So she still did her task. Now it'd be crazy if Dolores is that jealous that she's like, you know what, she chose that and I couldn't have that. It'd definitely be something tantalizing.
I would actually prefer it to be what you're saying, D, because
I do too.
That was so stupid how he just was like, oh, I'm not going to check if a freaking robot is alive after a car bomb. Like, it was like this woman just ran rampant through Delos through all your best guys. You're just going to have one guy be like, oh, yep, I see flames. We're good. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought that was kind of just silliness, but I like your theory, D, because maybe that is something right there. Because I would say Dolores, she is almost like Bill Belichick. She likes to cut you too early rather than too late.
Yeah. And also, it kind of goes back to the episode genre when Beast Mode and Lena, what's her last name? Well, I know her first name is Lena. I can't think of the names right now from the show.
Lena Waithe.
Yeah. They just popped out out of nowhere. It was kind of like, where the hell they come from? Who called them? But I think we were supposed to know, or maybe assume, is that Dolores called them like, "Hey, I need some backup." So
I thought what's the name called? I thought
he was too high.
That's not. He was killing people high. He was functioning very well. He shot the rocket launcher high. He was getting busy while he was high.
Yeah, as his manhood was growing and staying.
That was only one genre. And that one hadn't kicked in when he called them. Remember, they were there when he switched into love rom-com or whatever. Mm-hmm. All right. So one thing I jumped out to me was when the beginning of the episode, when Sirach is talking to Maeve when she's in the construct of the valley, and he says that humans' minds fade, but hosts don't, and that they're always in their present because they can always access their old memories. Oh. And it also goes to me thinking about why human beings want to be hosts. My theory on human beings want to put their consciousness inside of a host because it gives them immortality. And also thinking about the fact where William's father-in-law, and he's like, all you wanted to do was live forever. Again, like to me, the key thing was always people being able to live forever. That Planet the Park part is cool, but it's like, we want to use this so that, going back to, it's a different show or whatever, but like Altered Carbon, when they're talking about Cal Ryan, and they're like, she created the stack to see the stars so that she can live a prolonged amount of time so that she can gain this amount of knowledge or something like that.
Yeah. Ryan, what'd you think, man? What some things hopped out at you?
Sirach was one of the things that hopped out to me. Like, I can't see, I feel like Westworld's doing something to us. Like, how can he be really the hope of humanity when he has just turned out to be like the scum of the earth every time you see him?
Lex Luthor, man.
Right. Like, I want to see how that develops. I'm wondering if maybe the Maeve Dolores thing is going to take over. Like, I wonder if Sirach almost meets like a shocking end pretty soon.
Oh, I'm happy you said that. I want to predict something.
Yeah.
Maeve is going to find a workaround for Sirach's clicker. Especially
right. He's relying on technology.
Exactly. Maeve's he's gonna click that bad boy. And Maeve's gonna fake for a second and be like, psych. Like she's gonna find and they keep showing us how in reality, I know it was reality, but we looked at it as being Westworld that Maeve had control over. But now we know that it's like no. Anything technological, she can take control over. And I just think that when he thinks he has that kicker, like Ryan said, the overdependency on technology is going to show you that you because technology is God to him. And it's like you put your faith in the wrong God.
And he is so just authoritative with her. And it's always this theme, like humans think they're gods until they're put into their place. And I wonder, this has got to happen pretty soon here with Sirach. And I guess I was just kind of wondering what's Charlotte's next move after the car crash when she's just staring at, like, she must hate Sirach because I would assume she would think that Sirach did
just Sirach though, just
right.
Sirach.
I wonder how she's gonna be. Like,
she's got to be mad at Dolores too.
Well, that's what I'm kind of wondering because she's showing like almost like a humanness to her. Like, does she just become just balls out angry and goes on a warpath and doesn't really think about things, or does she become extremely calculated and try to get real revenge or something? Like, what is her next move? I'm wondering.
One thing that hopped out to me when Sirach was landing, if you go back, you watch the episode, Charlotte starts doing like this on her chest and kind of moving her hands. That's the same circle. That's the same marks that she made when Dolores had to patch her up. So it seems as if she's going back to doing marking herself up, kind of almost as kind of giving a tattoo to herself again. So I think she's definitely, as we've seen in this episode, she has separated herself, and now she wants to try to probably find out who the hell blew up my family. That's I think that's what
that's totally gonna that's totally it. I think listen, that's even more to your point, D, that it could have been Dolores, because that betrayal, we're gonna see what makes her snap. But one thing too, going to Ryan's point, is Charlotte, let's go back to when Charlotte ran to the car to tell Dolores that Sirach is here and the gig is up, and Dolores told her to get back in there. She said again, and she's mentioned in the past, why didn't we just burn out their emotions? And Dolores was like, we couldn't. Right? And Charlotte then goes on and tells her, I'm not me. And she didn't say I'm coming back. She said, I'm changing. And we've seen the fruition of that change. Like she chose to go be with her family. Yeah. They died. They were murdered. Like, so again, how's her actions going to be? And initially she's going to think it's Sirach. And even more, it makes me want to more believe in what Dee said. If she finds out that it was actually Dolores that did it, and Dolores gives her Dolores, let's say, what if Dolores, and we got to get out of here real quick. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say this quick. What if Dolores does the same thing that Sirach did to the Asian middleman that gave Dolores the hookup with the mortician, and he said he's a traitor to his humanity, his people, his kind. Thank you, his kind. And what if Dolores felt at that point, going along with what he was saying, that Dolores Charlotte was a traitor to her kind and choosing these humans over her, just like she said, they're not your family.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, very true. Last thing, I wonder if she's gonna go back and try to get a new body. Tessa look too good. I gotta see all the Tessa.
Good point.
All right, hey, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at D and Davis Show, Facebook.com/D and Davis Show as well. Click on the bio link, man. Take us everywhere. Take you everywhere you can see us and watch us. All right. At Demons1, at That's Davis, and at Ryan Bukovetsky. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Hey, just be safe out there, man. We always appreciate and continue watching Westworld. D and Davis is definitely out. Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, keep your hands to yourself.